All right, another day, another venue. I'm in Wetmore Landing in Marquette, Michigan, along the shore of Lake Superior. It's another beautiful Upper Peninsula day. Good place to go ahead and film a video. All right, here we go. So today's video is going to be filmed along the shore of Lake Superior. There are a lot of bugs out here, so I might have to do some swatting as we go along. One thing I was kind of thinking about was I'm trying to give information to people regarding the National Sports Collectors Convention, and part of that is you gotta mix in the good with the bad. And so I actually came up with a list of 5 things that I tend to find somewhat annoying about the National. Overall, the show's great. It's definitely worth going. Certainly not knocking it. But at the same time, there's some things that if you're going for the first time, you may find to be a little annoying or surprising, etc. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to have to really keep an eye on where I'm going here. It's pretty rocky. So, you're looking down for most of this video. It's a beautiful day though. Nice breeze coming off the lake. A lot of bugs. Okay, here we go. Number 1. It's not just the National, but you'll find that when you want to use any sort of electronic payments, PayPal, anything that charges fees, PayPal would be an example. One thing that I find to be a little annoying is when dealers give you a price, but then they give you a price and say net. So if a dealer, for example, posts or has a card for sale, whether it be in person at a show or online, and they say, hey, I want 500 net for this card. Basically what they're saying is that they need you to do the math for them. Because usually these fees are like 3% or so, plus or minus. And they're essentially saying that, instead of $500, I want $515. I don't understand why dealers don't just say, I want $515. If you're using electronic, I want $500 in cash. I always find that to be a little bit annoying, because it's like if you're selling something, in my opinion, you should have a price tag on it, and you should be able to tell somebody this is what it costs. And sometimes I don't do that. You see that a lot on online transactions, whether it be social media or whether it be, forums, etc. So, sorry, I have a drone ahead of me here. It's a beautiful day. Can't blame people for flying drones, that's for sure. So, that's number 1 on my list. The idea of a net price. If you're selling something, dealers, just give the price. If you want to differentiate it because of fees, go for it. 2, I've talked to other people in the hobby, and they've mentioned this as being a more and more common thing across multiple different types of shows, and we're sure to see it at the National as well. Advertising a low pop or low population number, meaning that there's not a lot of a card graded. Advertising low pop cards on cards that are highly undesirable. Sometimes there's a reason why there aren't a lot of a certain card graded. Okay, so basically your population reports, remember, are your total number of a given card that have been graded by PSA, BGS, etc. So I think the idea that dealers have is that, hey, if I put low pop on there, it might attract more interest. There's very few of these PSA 9s or PSA 10s. But the fact remains that if you got a 2nd or 3rd year card of a semi-star and it's a pop 2, it's very possible that you've had, 2, 5, 10 of that card that have even been submitted. So sometimes the low populations are because the card isn't really that desirable. So that's something to kind of keep in mind on low pop cards. So that was the second thing on my list. Again, just talking to people that have been going to shows, they've been seeing this a lot. So I suspect that we're going to be seeing it quite a bit at this year's National. 3, this I have noticed. Last time I went to the National was 2 years ago. I mentioned in a previous video, I don't go to the Atlantic City National when it's there. Personal preference, I just choose not to go there. So 2 years ago though, when I went to Chicago, there were dealers that had stacks. And by stacks, I mean, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 of the same card graded. And when you ask them about it, like, hey, what's the price on this card? They're basically like, oh, they're not for sale. I get it. Dealers can do what they want to do. We as collectors don't have the right to tell them what to do. But I don't understand the mentality behind it, I guess. And it's somewhat annoying, especially if it's cards you want, when there's stacks of them and they're taking up prime real estate in showcases, but they're not for sale. I don't really get the purpose of that. If you have any ideas on that, leave me a note in the comments. What is the purpose of that? Is it to provide some sort of a shock factor, which would then get people to potentially sell them more copies of the card? I don't know. I might be missing something a little more simpler than that. I don't know. If you know, let me know. Reach out and let me know what your thoughts are on that. Number 4. I've read a lot of threads about this in the past, and it's a term from a very famous TV show. Number 4 on my list is card sidling at value boxes. There was an episode of Seinfeld years ago, funny episode, where Elaine keeps getting sidled by one of her co-workers. Sidling, if you're not familiar with it, just means that a person suddenly is like standing right next to you and you had no idea they were there. Like it comes out of nowhere. You know, courtesy is key when you go to these shows. And you want to share, you know, if you're at a booth where they have, you know, a row of, you know, 3,600 count boxes, 2,400 count boxes, whatever, you're not going to be able to like reserve all those to look through before anybody else does. I get that. But if you're looking at a 3,600 count box and somebody walks up next to you and like pulls cards from the current box you're looking in, that to me is annoying. So card sidling on value boxes, just, you know, wait your turn, you know. But on the other hand, collectors, don't hog all the boxes, you know. Leave some for other people to be able to look through. Don't try to reserve the whole row. And last piece, this is number 5 on the list. Dealers that say, make an offer. I get it sometimes that dealers have a lot of inventory and they don't have certain things priced. Totally get it. But when somebody asks, you should have the ability as a dealer to give somebody a price, not just make an offer. The old saying goes, I've heard people use this many times, is, hey, I can't buy it and sell it for you. Like, part of that's your job as a seller. So that's my 5th thing. You know, dealers that just say make an offer when asked to give a price. So there's just 5 of my thoughts in regards to some of the things that I find to be a little more annoying when I go to the National. Again, it's not all rainbows and gumdrops when you go to these shows. And I want people to have a full picture of what it's actually like to go. So those are 5 things that I thought of. With that said, there's a lot of bugs, so I want to throw my hood on here and keep moving. But I hope that everybody's week is off to a good start. Happy Tuesday, everybody. And remember that the opportunities for collecting sports cards are endless.